What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Powered by Primus, and in today's video I'm going to be showing off a blaster build that I've been having a lot of fun with. I did play this at our last event that we did have people together for, and it did extremely well. I do believe I went undefeated that night, but it was a really good deck, and a lot of people have been asking me to do more Pierce, especially after showing off the previous Omega Supreme deck. Now, this one is going to push a little more into the competitive side of things. This is going to be a better deck because we are going to be a 4-wide list. Not to mention, this deck has a really big secret up its sleeve, a really good weapon that actually no other deck can have when it comes to Pierce. So we will talk about that because that card itself is just insane. Now, I'm also going to be announcing the winner of the Prime X4 gaming box and the sleeves that Wes did happily provide for us. You guys can find that down in the comment section below who did win. Now, with that, I'm not able to ship during this time period, so as soon as the ban does lift, we can go back outside and I can ship all the stuff, and then I will be getting everyone's orders back out. Whoever did place an order, you guys already have gotten an email from me about the situation, so I appreciate your guys' patience at the time. Now, with that being said, let's talk about this deck. Now, the one thing that's really cool about Blaster is that he does have this ability that says your starting star total limit is increased by 1 for each mini cassette underneath him at the start of your game. We're going to be running 2 here, so essentially our team now gets pushed to 27 stars, which is why you guys can run a 7-star with Blaster or Soundwave, whichever one you do prefer if you do run 2 cassettes. If you do run all 3 cassettes, then that does open 3 star cards, which obviously we'll be putting in battle cards, but again, in this one we are not. We are running the 7-star character. Now, Blaster has 0 attack, 14 health, and 2 defense. However, that's not where all of his good stuff comes from. It comes from this side, because when we transform, we now get 5 attack, 1 defense. It says when you flip to this mode, you get to deploy a mini cassette from under this onto the battlefield in bot mode, which is also very relevant that it comes out in bot mode. Now, they don't come out in cassette mode because then you gotta try to flip them and things get really awkward. So it's actually truly amazing that they come out in bot mode, and then when you do, you play the top card of your deck. Now, it is a have to play the top card of your deck. It is not like most of the other cards where it's like scrap you may. This is a you have to play the top. There's only 2 bad cards in the deck because every time you're running orange with these free cards, you'll always have these same 2 bad cards, at least for now. Once Wave 5 comes out, there may be a slight shift in that, but that's obviously Peace or Tyranny and Improvised Shield. Now, Peace or Tyranny, you're like, oh no, you don't want to play it, but it says you have to. The card itself does say that you may have to KO a character, so you can still play the card and choose to not KO a character, so it's a nice little way around it. However, if you do get an Improvised Shield, then yeah, you're just playing an armor with 2 orange, so that is what it is. The other character coming in here is going to be Lionizer. Now, Lionizer is really awesome because we are going for more of a Pierce build. This is going to be more of an orange-black. I believe there's 10 black battle icons in the deck. However, again, we have a secret card in this list. So it's going to be really nice to try to push for all that bolt, try to get more black battle icons, be able to push more damage. We really want to try to be equaling our damage equal to our Pierce. However, you're still going to be getting guaranteed pretty solid amounts of damage. I know that when I played this the other day, I was having Steeljaw was hitting for like 8 Pierce 8 on a pretty regular basis. So it's a really good deck as far as trying to make sure you guarantee that Pierce with the little damage on those characters can be really nice, because nothing is like more unfortunate than attacking with like a Steeljaw and then you're like, oh, I'm swinging for 9, and your opponent's like, cool, block 6, take 3, and you're like, oh, really? So this being able to get him for 8 Pierce 8 is obviously kind of pretty insane. So Lionizer does have bold 4 when he does obviously attack, and then when he is KO'd, he becomes a weapon, which is this Fire Steel Saber. You have to put onto a character. That character now has bold 4 and plan 1, which is also pretty nice in this list. We are dealing with some double pip cards in the deck, so being able to plan those cards can be really nice. And then obviously just being able to get that bold 4, whammy, we're going to be hitting for a bunch. So those characters, the next one coming in here is going to be Steeljaw, one of our mini cassettes that we do have coming in. He does have 3 attack, 9 health, and bold 1. All of the characters and all the cassettes all have the same stats across the board. I know when I was talking with Matt Smith, he said that was the specific thing that he knew he was going to do, which I think is really awesome. So they're all super consistent. And then we are going to have bold 1, and then each of your characters that has 10 or more stars, which would be our Blaster, is going to have bold 1. So Blaster will have bold 1 as long as Steeljaw is out, which is really nice. And then when we flip over to this mode, which I've done multiple times, is now we gain stealth so our opponent cannot attack into us, and then each of our other characters gets bold 1. So those turns that you still want to be able to protect Steeljaw, flip him, you still get the bold, which is really nice. You can even give like bold and then give it to anybody who's going to be swinging for the turn. Because we are 4-wide, we may have a chance of being able to get 2 swings at the end of a combat, so both of them to be able to get bold 1 can be really nice as well. And then the next character and last character coming in here is going to be Ramhorn. Ramhorn is honestly a huge star of the list. Like, honestly, this team is really, really good. Blaster himself is really, really solid. That's why we've seen a bunch of play with him in competitive, a bunch of play in casual, because he is really good. Those free cards off the top of the deck are pretty insane. Ramhorn coming in here, obviously that 3/9/1. However, it says when this defends, you may play a white battle icon armor. Now, this also does not say that you have to play it onto the defender. Again, we can play it on any character we want, which is really, really nice. We're running 5 armors in the main, and then I do have 1 additional in the sideboard. And then obviously once wave 5 comes out, we may have access to some more stuff. Then when we flip over here to Ramhorn's other side, we gain stealth, which is awesome again to be able to protect him. And then it says you may move an armor from one character to another, which is really good stuff because let's say sometimes you want to protect like an opposite character, or you want to protect the first character, and then you want to move it again later on, you totally can. Really nice stuff. Obviously one of our armors is going to be force field, so if that does go, you know, kablooey, then there's going to be no way of moving it because obviously it's gone. However, we do run an armor that we can move back and forth to be able to get some pretty fun stuff. So it is a really, really solid deck. Like I said, the thing that makes it just really powerful is its consistency, its free cards off the top. Nothing is more overpowering than you playing 2 cards a turn, your opponent's playing 2 cards a turn, and then all of a sudden now you're playing 3 cards a turn and your opponent's not. So it can be really, really messed up. And if, you know, of course, like every single time you almost flip Blaster, you get those ridiculously good cards off the top of the deck. So we're going to be showing that off. But again, this is going to be a more Pierce build just because of one card very specifically. And then we can kind of transition in the sideboard to just more of a direct orange build if you do need to go that route. The good part is that a lot of the black battle icons that are in the deck do not hinder us as far as damage goes, so it is a really fun, really consistent deck. So let's get into the list. Now, normally I start with upgrades. However, I'm going to be starting with actions today because this is the card that I've been talking about having a lot of secret tech in this one deck specifically, and this is going to be this Daring Counterattack. Now, it is an orange battle icon, which is awesome. That's where we want to be. However, it says choose one of your characters. It gets +1 attack until end of turn for each Autobot and mini cassette in your KO area. Now, you rarely will get the +1. Sometimes you will obviously get the +1, but usually your other characters will be going down before your cassettes. However, if you have Blaster on the battlefield, the chosen character gets Pierce 6 until end of turn. Now, this is a massive, massive, massive amount of Pierce 6. That's why this card definitely specifically says only if you have Blaster out, because it would get insane if you could just run this in any orange deck, or even any blue deck. You just instantly get Pierce 6. This card is truly insane. Being able to just get Pierce 6 on your character, like even when you're getting in with like your Steeljaw normally, we're attacking for 3, we're getting bold 1, so based on normal stats, we're flipping 3 cards, which is most likely going to be 3 oranges, so now we're getting in for just 6 Pierce 6. There is no disadvantage to us ever playing this card. It is ridiculously good. And then if we happen to get this for free for the turn off of Blaster, and then we can play another card, or even if we play a weapon on top of that, we can get to some really crazy, insane Pierce, because this just starts with Pierce 6. Like I said, it's insane. Being able to guarantee 6, and you can put this onto any character, which is also really, really relevant. It does not have to be played onto a cassette character. So even if you want to play this onto your Blaster, well, now guess what? We're getting in for probably 7 Pierce 7. We're getting in for, you know, 8 Pierce 7. Like, we're going to be able to get in for some super, super solid numbers. This card is absolutely amazing, and it really is the main reason why I built this deck when it came to talking about Pierce, was just because this card's capabilities are crazy good. Now, the next three coming in here is going to be Fight for Position. This pretty much finds itself in all orange-black Pierce decks that are really trying to do a lot of that stuff, just because it does have access to the Black Battle icon to be able to give us that additional Pierce, and then does give us Bold 2, obviously allowing us to flip 2 more when it comes to attacking, trying to push more of those Black Battle icons and just trying to push more damage in general. Next three coming in here is going to be Calculated Strike. This is a Black Battle icon, really helping us out as far as obviously pushing this Pierce. And then the card itself is really good. It says one of your characters gets +2 attack and Pierce 2 till end of turn. So again, a really nice way to be able to put this on a character, be able to get some plus damage, be able to push some Pierce, get some Black Battle icons on some bold mechanics, you know. We're going to be able to get really good damage in. Now the next three coming in, which is kind of a curveball for me. Usually I don't run both Fight for Position and Supercharge. However, they both are ridiculously good in this deck, and I actually can't find a way to cut either of them because of how relevant they both are. Supercharge is an orange battle icon. It does lose the black battle icon. However, it does get to pick up one additional bold, which is really nice. Now we have bold 3 here. I've been able to use them quite often, and I think it's really relevant that you try to play them as much as possible. You really want to be pushing damage as much as possible every single turn in this list. This list is definitely more of a kind of glass cannon. You want to try to make sure you're guaranteeing damage. You want to try to make sure that you are getting the damage in that you need to get, because like I said, nothing is worse than you like attacking for 12 and then your opponent blocking 8 of it and you only get in for 4. 4, you're going to find yourself in a really, really bad position. So being able to push for that damage every single turn, you will eventually outlast your opponent. You're going to get way more value out of a lot of your cards than your opponent's going to be able to get on defense, and it's going to be really, really relevant, which is why I decided to go with both of them in the deck. Now the next three coming in here is going to be Peace Through Tyranny. Peace Through Tyranny is in here for quite a different reasons, actually. I really, really like it in this list. It is a double orange battle icon, obviously helping us out get more of that damage when it comes to attacking. However, it does say you may KO one of your characters that has 6 or more stars if you do take an extra turn after that one. Well, we have Lionizer here, which finds us in a really, really nice spot. There's lots of situations when your opponent is in this really awkward space where they're like, do I KO the Lionizer and give him the weapon, or do I leave it there so he can Peace Through Tyranny and take an extra turn and still get the weapon? It's a really interesting conversation. In some situations, you really want to leave the Battle Masters alone. You don't want to touch them. And then in some situations, when you know your opponent's holding the piece or you're really worried about that extra turn, then you obviously try to clear off the character as fast as possible, because the only other character we can KO in this deck is going to be our Blaster, which obviously we're not going to be doing that. So this is a really nice way to be able to get Lionizer off the table if your opponent won't get him off the table, to be able to get the weapon, take an extra turn, especially if it's about to be reset. You know, you're getting in for that last swing, and then you get to untap everything and get the extra turn. You're going to find yourself in a really, really nice spot. The other part with taking that extra turn is it does give you time to flip your your cassettes over to stealth mode. There have been lots of times where I've kind of loaded them up with a couple of upgrades, or they're about to go down and I really want them to get another swing, and then I'll like flip them to stealth mode and then attack with Lionizer if I, didn't play the piece on them, and then my opponent's forced to go into Lionizer anyway, and I'm protecting my cassette. It's a really, really cool thing, and we'll talk about sequencing a little bit once we get to the end of the video like normal, but it is a really, really awesome thing that they do have stealth on the other side, because protecting them can really make a difference. The next two coming in here is going to be Surprise Attack. This is a white battle icon, which is honestly the main reason why it's in the deck. I've tried building in this multiple times, and other than a couple of the armors, it was really tough to try to find a white battle icon that I did like for the list. However, Surprise Attack was a really, really good card. It does give us 2 more on attack and on defense when it comes to flipping. Obviously, the defense doesn't matter too much, but the attack is really nice, especially with a lot of these bold stacks. We can flip a lot of cards on attack. And then it does say one of your characters gets pierced 3 until end of turn. Again, it's just another way for us to make sure that we're guaranteeing how much damage we're trying to get in. We're really trying to push that pierce. This list is definitely designed to be up against a more blue list in the main. And then obviously in the sideboard, we can go up against those other orange decks and do very well as well. We kind of just sideboard into the more traditional Blaster deck, which we'll talk about here soon. But this is really, really nice against those blue decks. Next two coming in here is going to be Contract Contingency. Now this card is mainly in here for the double black battle icons that it does have. Really nice, obviously help us push that pierce. There is going to be a moment when it's going to be relevant for us to flip a black battle icon, which we'll talk about when we get to the upgrades. However, it also does say choose one of your characters. It's get +2 attack until end of turn. Now it doesn't matter as much about the bottom part because we don't have any bounties, so we're really not going to be pushing for that. However, that +2 can be really nice if we actually need to push some of that damage. We don't have another way to push damage because again, we really want to be pushing damage every single turn, whether it's plus attack, whether it's bold, whether it's pierce, whether it's going to be plus statics via some of the weapons. We really need to be pushing damage. Next two coming in here is going to be Incoming Transmission. Now this is just a really awesome card in general. Being able to draw 2 and then put one back on top of our deck is really nice. We obviously see a lot of these double orange battle icons in the deck as well as the double black battle icons on the deck. So we get to really kind of stack the deck as much as we want. Nothing is cooler than like getting the free card off the top, stacking Contract Contingency, and then like playing Daring Counterattack and being able to hit for like 8 Pierce 8. You can get into some pretty insane numbers by doing a lot of these things. And then also just being able to stack those double oranges on top can be really nice, just to be able to help push damage if you need to. And then obviously you get to dig a little bit deeper. And then the last card coming in here for the action section is going to be Ramming Speed. Just a really fantastic card, usually a one of in most of the lists. If I'm running orange, if it's blue, it's vaporized. And it just allows us to scrap an enemy upgrade. So we don't have to lose the battle icon because it's either orange or blue, whatever list you're going to be in. And then being able to obviously hit any of those annoying armors, any of those weapons, eventually Master Swords and Ghost Shields when those start to come out. We're going to have to really start kind of pushing the upgrade hate. I do believe it's going to be a pretty big thing because those weapons and armors are going to kind of run the board if you do not get them off the table. So this is the actions. Let's go ahead and jump into the upgrades. Now the first we're coming in here is going to be Power Punch. Power Punch is just an obviously really good card. It's going to give us that orange battle icon, which is going to help us out on attack, and then does give us bold 3 when attacking, and then we do scrap that card. So it just gives us that bold. It's just another way for us to be able to make sure that we have that bold. We either had it via some of those actions, or we're going to be able to have it some of these upgrades, which is going to be really important. The next tree coming in here is going to be Grenade Launcher. Now, Grenade Launcher is obviously going to be a staple in most aggressive decks. It's really funny. When I was building the Omega Supreme deck, I actually didn't find a lot of space for it, which it plays differently in that one, but in this one, it's a very important card. Just being able to get that orange battle icon attack is really nice, and then obviously the +4 attack is always going to be really, really good. That amount of damage is really, really insanely powerful, and it can really throw your opponent off like crazy. Now the next tree coming in here is going to be Force Field. So this is going to be our first white battle icon armor. Now the reason behind Force Field first off is it's a white battle icon, allows to flip 2 more on attack and on defense. And then does say if the upgraded character would take 5 or more attack damage, instead you get to scrap this card and take 4 instead. Now the really cool part, other than it just being a really awesome way to keep a lot of your characters around, is that you get to surprise your opponent with it. Whenever they have to attack into a ram horn, believe me, your opponent will always go, ugh, do they have a force field? Do they have a force field? And the answer is usually yes. Just because that we do run, I run 5 armors in this deck, so I will always have access to usually an armor in my hand when my opponent does get to go to attack into a ram horn, which can be really, really nice. And then again, they go to try to punch ram horn. They have to decide if they want to go full in and try to KO the character and then just get wrecked by a force field, or if they choose to not play their cards, and then in which case if you play the force field still and they don't manage to proc the force field blow up, then you can flip Ramhorn for the turn, and then you can move this to another character, and then Ramhorn has stealth so they can't go back into him either. So it can be a really cool double play if your opponent gets end up mind tricked the other way. I would always tell you, if you're attacking into a Ramhorn, you kind of just go all in unless you absolutely know they have it, and you can still proc the ability. Because there are no blues in the deck, obviously you just have to try to get in 6 damage, the 5 to be able to break the force field, and the 1 to be able to get through that armor. So if you can't push more than the 6, then yes, always play the card to try to break through it, just in case they do play it. And then again, what your opponent may do is, if you are attacking into that Ramhorn, just play the force field on a different character, and then you're still getting the full value off of that Ramhorn KO. So, however, if your opponent's on the other end of it, and you're playing the Ramhorn, your opponent has to try to think about all these things, and most of the time your opponent will probably make the wrong play, just because they don't really know until they start playing against this. If they play against this enough, then they'll know, obviously don't do that, and then you just play a little bit differently. But either way, being able to get these free force fields on any character can be really, really awesome stuff. And then the other 2 armors that we do have coming in here is going to be Medic's Protective Field. Now this is also a white battle icon card. It is an armor, and then it says when you put this on a character, repair 1 damage from it, and then it does have Safeguard 3. So this is actually better than Force Field in most situations, if not all situations. I really thought about running 3 of these instead of 3 Force Fields. However, there is a lot of direct damage that kind of runs around, so sometimes you having 1 damage on you turns off Safeguard 3, because in order for Safeguard 3 to work, your character has to be undamaged. And then if it is undamaged, it can't take more than 3 damage, which is really, really powerful stuff. And again, we have that Ramhorn out. We get to throw this down. Well, now our Ramhorn's only taken 3, and then we can flip for the turn because we get to keep this, move this to another character. We get to repair that character, and then possibly now that character has Safeguard. So really, really good stuff as well. Like I said, Ramhorn has a lot of ability in this deck to be able to play a lot of these cards and super protect your characters. The next 2 coming in here is going to be Pocket Processor. Now this is a green battle icon allowing us to pick it up after combats, and then is a utility and says at the start of your turn, draw a card. Now this is actually a really good card in the list. I originally didn't have it in here at all. However, I found myself kind of running out of cards pretty quickly because I was always playing, you know, these bold upgrades and these bold actions and just pushing so much, and then I just didn't have cards. So I wanted to find a way to try to draw more other than the incoming transmission, because it doesn't really net you cards. So Pocket Processor was a thought that I had. Easy build to pick up, easy to be able to play on a character, especially on a character your opponent's not trying to go into for the majority of the time, or like late game, usually your Blaster's one of the last ones around. And then if you can get it for free off of Blaster's Effect, then you find yourself in a really good boat, because then you don't have to waste the upgrade for the turn, which is really nice. And then obviously being able to just keep drawing on your opponent's going to be really, really nice. And if your opponent doesn't respond to it, you start getting more of these force fields and these protectives, your opponent's going to find themselves in a really, really bad spot. The next 2 coming in here is going to be the RR Disruptor Blade. Now this is an awesome card in this list. First off, it is a black battle icon card, helping us push more of that Pierce. It is a weapon, and it says when the upgraded character attacks and you don't flip a black battle icon, you scrap this card after battle, and then does give us +3 attack. Now, I've never missed in this list flipping a black battle icon card. The main reason behind it is because there is access to so much bold. I will always, always hit one. There's 11 black battle icons in the deck. Like I said, I don't know if it's just been, I've been lucky, whatever the case is. I've yet to mess with it because I'm always stacking it with a bold effect. I'm never just playing this and then just kind of swinging in and hoping I get there, unless it's with Steeljaw, who also still does have bold 1 built in. The really cool part about this as well is putting this on the little characters becomes almost more deadly than a grenade launcher. Grenade launcher is really powerful. Your opponent gets hit by it once and then it's gone. However, Disruptor Blade, if you do flip a black battle icon card, it gets to stay. So yes, you're losing 1 attack, however, it gets to stick around, which is going to end up being 6 damage over the course of the combat with it versus 4 damage. So you're already profiting off of that alone. And then again, being able to put it on one of these smaller characters and then flipping them to stealth mode, your opponent can't go into the character, so you know that that card's protected unless they remove it. Now, if your opponent removes it, great. Then they've used some action or they've used some upgrade to get rid of it, and then you find yourself kind of in the same boat. Your opponent had to spend something, you had to spend something, you guys are 1-for-1ing, it's totally fine. However, if your opponent doesn't get rid of it off of a card and they can't attack into it, well, the next turn you can flip right back and then you're ready to swing again with this card still attached, which is really nice. It is something that I have done multiple times, is being able to put this on those little characters, and then they just become an even bigger threat since my opponent can't go into them. The next 2 coming in here is going to be Improvised Shield. Now, this is a double orange battle icon card, which is the main reason why it is in the deck. I've tried to cut it because I honestly am just not a huge fan of the card. However, I do think that the double oranges is relevant enough for it to be in the list. Obviously, it is an armor, and it does give us tough 1, which is completely irrelevant in the deck because we have 0 blues. However, those double oranges are really nice. It is nice to stack on top of the deck, whether you're attacking with Steeljaw in weapon mode or the incoming transmissions to be able to put on top. It is a really nice card. However, nothing feels bad when you go to flip Blaster and you reveal the top and it's an Improvised Shield. So pretty bad stuff, but like I said, it's only 2 cards on the deck that are actually technically really bad, and then there's 5 if you do include the Piece of Tyranny, which you don't have to play. You just really don't want to play this one because then the card's just lost. It's sitting on a character and you have to really wait to like get a force field out to replace it in order to get it back in your deck. Where the Piece of Tyranny, you lose the action for the free card for the turn essentially, but you're not losing a card because you can still play your cards. And then my last 2 are going to be my mainstays, always when it comes to the upgrade removal, and that's going to be Bashing Shield and Enforcement Batons, both with an orange and a green battle icon, helping this deck out on attack, and green allowing us to pick it up after combats. And then obviously one's an armor, one's a weapon, one's got defense, one's got offense, and then it just says that they get to scrap their respective ones as well. So if it's an armor, you get to scrap an enemy armor, and then if it's the weapon, you get to scrap an enemy weapon. So just a way to be able to get rid of a lot of those weapons and those armors that are really annoying, whether it's a force field or whether it's an Energon Axe on your opponent's side, or even if your opponent's trying to set up like a grenade launcher on their Lord Meg, you get to kind of crack it early, do a bunch of that really good stuff. Composite armors, all those really good upgrades that are running around right now, ion blasters, all that good jazz. So unfortunately you can't hit energy packs. That's not a way to do it, but that's obviously why there's ramming speed in the deck. And then obviously you just sideboard more upgrade removal if you are having a lot of issue with that in your local area. Now, coming to talk about this sideboard, I usually don't show my sideboard just because it really depends on a lot of the meta that you're going up against, and sometimes, you know, my cards aren't relevant, like, compared to what your guys' cards are, because what you're playing. However, I'm going to show you guys just my sideboard as far as when it goes up against going into another orange deck, and then all I do is increase for more ramming speed to be able to pick up that. I do bring in 2 rock tosses. I think they're a pretty good card as far as the orange and the black battle icon. You could also put this in for zap if you don't want to go for the black battle icon. However, Rock Toss allows you to do 1 damage to a tapped enemy, make sure they are tapped, but obviously that black battle icon can still be relevant. Battlefield scans, I think, are really good, especially against our area. Sometimes we have some really annoying Brave stuff or some really annoying stealth stuff. Also, if you're having an issue with Airstrike Patrol, any of those patrols, they obviously do have stealth, and that can make that really, really annoying. So that black and that green battle icon, the black obviously helping us out with that Pierce, which is still really nice. Green allowing us to pick it up. And then enemies can't use Brave or Stealth this turn. So it's really nice with the reset to be able to crush Tailwind. Feels really, really good, or Power Drain if you are having issues with those in your area, just because usually you can't go into them because they have Stealth, and then you have to waste a swing into their big guy. So this is a really nice way to surprise your opponent and completely hit it. Next 2 coming in is going to be Jam Signals. Now this is obviously designed for the blue matchup if we're having a lot of those issues, or if we're, you know, running into a lot of cards that are really kind of being a pain in the butt. Jam Signals allows us to keep that orange battle icon. It is a secret action, then obviously when we get to do that and your opponent plays a blue action, we get to scrap it. It has no effect, so essentially it acts as a counter. They don't get to use the card. So again, just a really nice way to be able to stop a lot of that stuff our opponent does plan on going, you know, getting rid of one of our upgrades or being able to draw more cards to be able to try to play catch up. We can just really try to halt a lot of that good jazz. And then lastly is going to be Quartermaster to bring back one of our Battle Masters. Now it is also a white battle icon, and it does also have the added effect move and upgrade from one of your characters to another. So one thing that you can do is move some stuff around, especially if you do end up getting hit by like 1 damage off of like an armed hovercraft. You can play Quartermaster to move the Safeguard armor over to another character, repair that one, and then you can even flip Ramhorn and move it again to a different character. So you can really kind of play some cleanup for a lot of those wide direct damage things, but also, like I said, it is to put a Battle Master from your KO pile back onto one of your characters, and that is going to obviously be for our Lionizer if we are still going that route with the black. However, if we are getting rid of Lionizer in the orange matchup, we want to try to be a little more beneficial. I do bring in Fire Drive. Fire Drive is the more classic version that always really shows up with Blaster. He's got just a lot of benefits to him. He does have 3 attack, 10 health, 0 armor. It says when he attacks, you get to draw a card. So you're already getting card advantage at the start of the game, then your opponents attack back into him. Well, the card advantage becomes really relevant because once he becomes a weapon, you do get +3 attack off the start, which is really good. And then it does say when the upgraded character attacks, you can scrap any number of cards from your hand, and then for each card scrapped, you get 1 attack. So if you scrap 6 cards, you get +6. If you scrap 3 cards, you get +3, so on and so forth. So really nice to be able to finish off those big characters. Because we are running more orange, obviously we have access to being able to push more damage. This is really designed for like a one-shot on a character you need to get it to, because your opponent will most likely remove it on the second go. So just a really good upgrade, and then obviously Quartermaster will be able to bring it back if your opponent does get rid of it. Is going to be a really nice way to make sure that it does get to stick around. So this is, again, just a really fun, solid deck. It has a lot of core stuff to it that just makes it really good and really consistent, which is where you'll start to see a more powerful deck, is in its consistency. If you play the deck once and you're like, oh, this deck's really good, but then you play it 9 more times and it kind of sucks, well then, unfortunately, the deck's just not where it's at. However, I have yet to be disappointed with this list, whether it's, from the main board or from the sideboard. It is really good. It's just because, like I said, Blaster is really good. You're able to go 4 wide with it, which is really beneficial, being able to get free cards off of it, which is really nice as well. So I really hope that you guys did enjoy this deck profile video. I'm going to be having a podcast coming out tomorrow, and then we do have some gameplay videos that we're going to be able to show for you guys that I'm really excited about. So make sure you guys are subscribed so you guys can get access to all of our videos as soon as they become available. If you guys did enjoy it, obviously a like would be greatly appreciated, and I will catch you guys in the next one.